Hello, welcome to the VISTA member placement presentation. My name is Brendan Murphy, the Director of the VISTA Member Support Unit, who will be guiding you through this information today. Today, we will talk about VISTA member placement, VISTA member orientations, member eligibility, and the resources available to you. Our objectives today are that by the end of this training, you will be able to accurately place VISTA members and leaders into new service terms and identify whether a VISTA needs to attend a VISTA member orientation or if they should be reinstated into the program. As we go through this presentation, please keep in mind the question of how can an accurate member placement benefit you and your members. Please note that in addition to all the information that you receive in this presentation today, there are also many other resources available to you, including the VISTA Member Actions Guide, the VISTA Desk Reference, the VISTA Campus, and the VMSU SharePoint page. Our VMSU staff is always here to help assist you in member placement as well. When placing a member for service, you will need to determine if they must attend a VISTA member orientation or VMO. If it is an individual who has never served or attended an orientation before, they must attend a VMO. If they previously served, attended an orientation within the last 5 years, they can be placed as a reinstatement. If the individual has previously served, attended an orientation, but more than 5 years ago, they will need to attend a VMO as well. While there are some individuals that do not need to attend VMOs, we encourage all members be placed in a VMO and start their service at that time. For individuals who attend VMOs, member benefits include members are most informed, they feel more of a cohort, and they have the ability to ask questions and get more information. Benefits for you are that field staff do not need to swear in members on their first day, do not need to keep track of the many different start and end dates, off-schedule communications. Benefits to our headquarters staff is that the VMSU staff have easier time tracking all the data and forms to make sure they are complete before activation. What is a VISTA member orientation, you may ask? Well, a VMO introduces candidates to the VISTA program, our mission, the history, and policy. It is comprised of 2 required webinars and early service coursework. They must attend a countdown to VISTA service, which is approximately 1 week before their start date, and launching your VISTA service on their start date. Our VMOs are currently offered about once a month, with 2 to 3 offered in the month of July. Members must be present on their worksite during the Launching Your VISTA service. As stated on the previous slide, we have about 1 VMO a month with 2 to 3 in July and August. The list in front of you now is a list of all of the fiscal year 2020 VMOs. Towards the end of this fiscal year or in early September, you will receive the yearly calendar for our fiscal year 21 VMO schedule. You may now be asking yourself, what is a reinstatement? Well, a reinstatement is a candidate who has previously served as a VISTA and plans to serve again with a break between service terms. As you can see on the right of this slide, even if a member has a short break, but more than 120 days, a new NSOPWS or National Sex Offender Public Website check must be run, and they must complete a new background check. Here, you can see the steps involved from when an individual submits an application for service until they're assigned a service project. Individuals submit their application to a specific service project listing. It is then reviewed and individuals are selected by the sponsor. Corporation for National Community Service staff have final approval of all individuals for VISTA service. Our regional office staff have the responsibility and the decisions for approving these individuals, with the exception of criminal history. We will now go through the next steps in more detail. Once an individual is selected for service by an organization, it will come to you for review in the member portal. You click on the Recruitment tab at the top, and under the Application Submissions Request, you will see individuals awaiting your review and approval. As you can see, the status is pending state office approval. Please click on the individual's name to view their application. If a member's name does not show up or you have trouble seeing it, usually filtering by the different columns and sections has that name appear. If it still does not work, please contact the VMSU at vmsu@cns.gov. Once you click on an individual's name, it will bring you to their application. Once you review all aspects of their application, you will click whether you accept the candidate or deny the candidate for VISTA service. Some things to remember: that their citizenship and social security number must be verified. This goes out for verification once a member accepts a position. The average time for verification is 3 to 5 business days. You should also look at their appropriate experience in education and the strength of their recommendations and references. If a member lists a criminal history, you must also complete a criminal history justification form. Please remember that the final decision for member service lies with corporation staff. VISTA headquarters, along with our regional staff, will review and approve for eligibility, where the application strength lies with you in our regional offices. Once you approve an individual for service, their application will then go into the Placement Request tab of the staff portal. Again, click on the Recruitment tab at the top and then the Placement Request. Find the individual you're looking for and click on their name for the placement screen, which we will go into more detail over the next few slides. If you cannot find their name, please filter through the different aspects of this page or contact the VMSU at vmsu@cns.gov for further assistance. Once you click on an individual's name, it will bring you to the placement screen. Here, you will enter the program information, their start and end dates, as well as service category and pay information. For the program code, you will need to enter the program code, which is the project number that they will be serving under. Once that is entered, a list of sites will pre-populate. Please use the drop-down menu to choose the correct site. It is very important that you choose the actual service site for this member. The information is used to determine relocation eligibility and their correct pay tier. If a site is not in this system, the MA will need to be amended for the site to populate. Next, you will enter the individual's start and completion dates of service. If they are attending a VMO, please select it from the drop-down menu. If they were a reinstated member, please leave it blank. Again, we do encourage all individuals to start service in a VMO even if not required. Their active date should be their start date that the VMO happens or their first service day if a reinstatement, and their completion date is their end date. An easy way to remember this is it's 1 year minus 1 day from their start date in most years, but minus 2 days in a leap year. You will now submit the service and pay information for the member. For the service category, please use the drop-down menu and select the type of service the member will be doing. You will then use the purpose code to say how the member will be paid. The pay plan is determined by the member's service site county. We will go into more information and details about purpose codes and pay plans on the next slide. It is extremely important that this information is correct. If this information is incorrect, it will result in a member being underpaid, overpaid, or not paid at all. Next, please list the adjustment allowance the member should be receiving. This will be $750 for the settling in allowance if the member is relocating to serve. If not, this amount will be $0. You will then check if the member is relocating 50 miles or more to serve. As previously stated, the purpose code informs us how the VISTA will be paid. You can see the chart of purpose codes here on this page to choose the correct one. The pay plan is determined by a member's specific service site. You can use the VISTA Living Allowance SharePoint page or Portfolio Navigator for additional information and resources on how to determine the specific pay plan. There are many resources on the Living Allowance SharePoint page. The one shown here is the Living Allowance Pay Plan spreadsheet. If you go to the zip code VLA lookup tab, you may enter a zip code and it provides you with the pay tier information. You can also use the Portfolio Navigator to find useful information around the pay tier. In the Portfolio Navigator, if you go to the VISTA module, VISTA Recruitment, and then VISTA Applicants in Progress, you will find a spreadsheet similar to the one on this page. This will provide you with a suggested pay tier and other helpful information. It is important to ensure that all members are placed correctly prior to their start of service. If a member is placed incorrectly for their service term, that could result in underpayments or overpayments for the member, create an issue with MA slots, they could be assigned to the incorrect VAD, and all of this could be a delay in member benefits. Once an individual is placed, that candidate will now have access to their member homepage on the myamericorps.gov member portal. They will be assigned an NSPID, and they can access all of the required onboarding forms. If they're enrolled in a VMO, the candidate will receive an automated email with directions for completing their onboarded forms, and they will also receive an email approximately 2 weeks before service with the guide to entering VISTA service and occasional forms completion reminders. If an individual is reinstated, the candidate will receive communications from the VMSU regarding these onboarding forms. Again, if a member is enrolled in a VMO, they will automatically be getting these emails and information. With reinstatements, there may be delays, which is another reason we encourage all individuals to be enrolled in a VMO. Here is a list of the required onboarding forms and trainings that individuals must complete prior to their start of service. The VMSU will email candidate reminders to complete these documents and trainings prior to their start. After repeated attempts with no success, we will ask you in the field to follow up with the candidate and the site. If these are not completed, the VMSU cannot activate a member for service. This may cause delays in the member's first living allowance payment. If a member is indicated as relocating for service, they will receive two separate types of payments. They will receive a mileage reimbursement, which is paid out through a voucher generated by the VMSU and will arrive via direct deposit in 8 to 10 weeks from receiving the member voucher. This is calculated by a mileage reimbursement from the candidate's home of record to their project site. They are also entitled to a settling in allowance, which is paid direct deposit with their first living allowance payment. All first-time VISTA members and leaders will need to have a clear National Sex Offender Public Website report. These NSOPW checks are completed by the VMSU at headquarters. All first-time members and leaders will also need to have a criminal history background check completed. We are currently in the process of moving this to an online criminal history background checks. Once that has been finalized, we will provide you with additional information. For reinstating members, it depends how long the member has been out of service. If they have been or will be out of service for more than 120 days, they will need to have a new NSOPW and background check completed. All members must take an oath of service on their first day. This is done through the member portal. As you can see, when a member attends a VMO, they are sworn in during the launching of service webinar by VISTA headquarters. The VMSU unlocks the oath after that webinar, and the oath will list the name of the CNCS official from the webinar. If a member is reinstating, they will need to be sworn in by our ORO staff on the first day of service. The VMSU will unlock their oath at noon Eastern on that day, and the oath will need to include the ORO staff member who personally conducted the oath. If oaths are incorrect, they will be reset and returned to the member to be completed. Once an individual who has been approved for service, completed all of their onboarding requirements, showed up for their first day of service, and attended a VMO, they can then be activated. The VMSU will activate members within 5 days of completion of all of their forms and documents, and under the service term, members' status will now show up as in service. They will also start to appear on the sponsor verification forms. If a candidate is placed for service but decides not to serve at the project, they will be ended in training. Ending a candidate in training removes the candidate's application from the listing so that the project can continue to recruit. This individual is allowed to be able to serve at a future time. Please note that if an individual shows up for even 1 day of service at the site, they cannot be ended in training, and they must be activated and exited early from their service term. There are a lot of steps to a member submitting an application, being approved, and being placed for service before they can start. This slide shows you common placement issues that can hinder that process, whether it's issues with MA dates, references not appearing on the application, or their citizenship and Social Security not being verified. This is a resource that you can use about what the next steps are and who to contact with the most common placement issues that we see. You have received a lot of information in this presentation. Please know, as stated at the beginning, there are other resources available to support you in placement of members. There is the VISTA Members Action Guide, there is the VISTA Desk Reference, our VISTA Campus, and the VMSU SharePoint page. In conclusion of this presentation, I hope that you feel comfortable in placing VISTA members for service, understanding what a VISTA member orientation is, understanding VISTA eligibility and suitability, and the resources available to you for this process. I want to thank you all for your time today in watching this presentation. I hope it has provided you with useful information and the resources you need to be successful. Please also know the VISTA Member Support Unit, or VMSU, is here to support you. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us for any questions or support that we can provide. We all look forward to working with you. Thank you.